Hey Justin, longtime fan. Been watching since you saved me from buying airline companies a really long time ago. So I recently gained access to a terminal through work, and I've been playing around with financial models for fun. There's a simple model I came across that was able to beat the S&P 500 by upwards of 40 percentage points over the past 15 years. That is up until coronavirus, where it equalized with the index's performance. So the model I was looking at just did a simple rebalancing of stocks with the following criteria: high market cap, low PE ratio, and moderate dividend yield. So the stocks that ended up being in the model were banks like Citi, telecom companies like Verizon, car companies like Chevron, and energy companies like GE. So my question for you has two parts. For one, is the model I just described a fluke because of the bull run over the past 10 years, or are these the type of stocks people should genuinely be looking to invest in the future? My second question is, what do you think about that sort of quantitative analysis to use backwards-looking models to advise future investment decisions? The model I chose is obviously cherry-picked, but with the exception of COVID, it generally outperformed the S&P 500 over what I'll consider to be a long period of time. Anyways, thanks for listening. Keep up the great work. I learned so much in the past 5 months. Take care.
That is an amazing question. First of all, thank you. So if you call every week with a question like that, I'll love you forever. So there's a lot there. So I did. Okay. So first off, addressing the airline companies, like, pretty good to avoid them, right? Yeah. Okay. Got to pat myself. Okay. Okay. So this model the simple model that beats the S&P 500 by 40 percentage points over the past 15 years, I'm going to guess, I don't know what model you're talking about, but I'm going to guess you mean on a nominal basis, which isn't as impressive, right? It's not as impressive. So if I look at the S&P 500, over the last 15 years, well, I don't know if I can go. Okay, so the last 15 years, you're talking about 2005. It's gone from 1250, call it, to 3300. So that's like nice one. 164% return, right? Upside. I'm going to assume you mean that instead of 164, it was like 204%. Because if you beat the S&P 500 by 40% annualized, that would be insane. Or like every single year, that'd be insane. So I'm guessing if you bought both of them if you bought $1,000 of both of them, right, the S&P 500 would become, after 15 years, 2,600, and this model would actually be like, not 2,600. 1,600 times 1.4 plus 1. Would actually be like 3,250, right? So I'm going to guess, so that is impressive. Like, don't get me wrong, because like 40%, but it isn't as impressive. Like, I would have to kind of know what you mean by that. It isn't as impressive as you think, because even like this isn't the actual math, because you have to think through compounding. But if it only outperformed the S&P 500 for 15 years by 40% over those 15 years, right? Then you're outperforming by like 2 to 3% or something like that, right? But if it is 40, I don't believe you mean 40% every single year if this model is buying super big market caps, because, right, you're not like buying these like small companies that are ripping. Also, I have a question about I like the rebalancing models because, but I like rebalancing based on your conviction levels and the analysis. I don't really like rebalancing based off of kind of auto stuff, because auto multiples don't really look through the business, right? Because my quick takes on any of your questions regarding like Apple doesn't actually look through the fact that maybe their software margins are going to get squeezed, right? We just don't know. So high market cap, low PE ratio, and moderate dividend yield. First of all, dividend yield, just throw that away. Like, who cares? Honestly, who cares, right? Banks companies, I don't know how it's outperformed because banks have underperformed within like a low interest rate environment over the last 10 years. Like telecom's done well, energy and like oil and gas, like Chevron obviously hasn't done well and is super tied to a commodity price. So I don't really like it personally. Like I don't think it's completely off base. Like it's an interesting strategy, but within that strategy, you're assuming a lot of things, right? You are going for a very large value-oriented strategy in a low interest rate environment. And I'm going to sum this up. I know this is a long question, long answer. I like over time, if we keep doing this, maybe I'll try to like quantify it and make it into a model, and we'll have like our ROIC model. But in my opinion, first of all, I will guarantee you that the FANG stocks and the FANG strategy has outperformed the S&P 500 by multitudes more than this model. Okay. So I personally like investing behind innovation at the right price and the right innovation. And you have to be right about the innovation, right? Like I'm saying I'm iffy on Netflix, but I'm not iffy on Google, not iffy on, like I said my piece about Apple, like I'm not iffy on Spotify. You just really have to pick the right trends. And if you pick the right trends, those things compound capital at insane rates that it doesn't even like that's going to be the thing that really maximizes your return versus like buying a Chevron. Like, I mean, they're not going to like, they're spitting out dividends. Like that's not going to be the maximum. So I think as we look forward in a zero interest rate environment for the near future, I just don't like it. I don't love it. And if you're saying that post-COVID, it's basically erased all of its outperformance, then it's not actually outperforming the S&P, right? Because guess what? We get an exogenous shock to the system every decade, right? And so if it can't handle exogenous world shocks, whether it's a war, whether it's 9/11, whether it's a housing crisis, whether it's a health crisis, like we get this every decade. We've just over 2008 to 2020, we had like the longest bull market ever because we just had this like area of like nothing really happened, and then boom, the hammer came down. So yeah, anyway, that's just my opinion on it. Cool.